Hey howdy friends, MrAyrit here. Welcome back to the channel. Got an interesting video for you today because recently I did a review of the Meze Empyreans Elite, Meze Empyrean Elite. Big difference, I think, personally. So I love these things. A phenomenal build, phenomenal sound. Not the most detailed oriented thing in the world, but as far as just like picking up a headphone, putting it on, and just enjoying yourself, very, very difficult to beat, in my opinion. Okay, one of my favorites that I've tried all time. Okay, so when the opportunity came for me to try the original Empyreans, I of course wanted to compare them, and fortunately for me, I still have the Elites on hand. Those were loaned by Meze. The Empyreans were sent by a friend of the channel, and we will dig into these guys and we'll do some comparisons here, and we'll see how it goes. The review for the Elites is linked down below. I'm gonna try to keep this one a little bit shorter. A lot of similarities here between these two, at least in the build department. Okay, so you may want to check that out if you want like a more in-depth video. Okay, so as far as things they come with, right? The original Empyrean comes with a metal case like the Elites did. This one's obviously black colorway. I would assume there's probably different color. There's probably different color options depending on what color of Empyrean you get, because you know, there's several different ones. Obviously, the one that I've got is the black colorway with, you know, kind of bronzy, coppery post here. This is maybe the one I would buy if I was buying one. I like the blacked out. I like the little, you know, copper look on there. I mean, it's a beautiful headphone, no doubt about that. Just like the Elite was, right? So there's very little difference between build besides just color options, okay? And personally, I mean, I would go for a blacked out version over like the silver of the Elites, and I think, like, from what I've seen, the Empyreans also have some pretty other cool colors too, like some gold colors, red colors. I don't know, there's a lot more interesting colors, I think, for the regular Empyrean than the Elites, which I think is unfortunate, because I would like to see that in the Elites. So hopefully someday Meze will offer the Elite with some of those other options, right? I mean, cables were the same. Again, this one came, the Empyrean, I think it's an extra if you buy it, but it came with an XLR, and that's what I've been using it with, but it is the exact same cable that the Elite had. Pads is the difference here, okay? So the Empyreans here have Elite pads on them, all right? Now, I think anyway, I'm not 100% sure, because it came with two sets of pleather pads, and they're right here, pleather, leather. I don't know if they're real or not. They're nice. Thin ones, okay, these ones, which is very similar to what came with the Elite, and then we've got these thicker leather or leather style pads, and that's a little bit different. Now, for me, I need the thicker pads, like just the size of the headphone, like I need the thicker pads. So if I use the thin pads, I just don't get like a nice comfy seal. It doesn't sit flat against my face. I do have a smaller head, but that's just something to keep in mind, okay? So I liked it with either the thick pads or the Elite pads on it, the thick leather pads or the Elites, just for comfort purposes, period. Sound, here's the deal, right? And this is where it's going to come down to. So build is basically all exactly the same, all right? Sound, I personally feel like the Elite is better in just about every single way, myself. So I feel like they took a good headphone with the Empyrean, and they tweaked the frequency response and made it a phenomenal headphone, in my opinion. I never felt like, whenever, regardless of pads, regardless of what music I was listening to, I never felt like when I went from the Empyrean to the Elites, I never preferred the Empyrean. I didn't feel like. Now, some people might prefer the Empyrean. Actually, my friend that lent me the Empyrean said he likes them better than the Elites, okay? Now, why? Well, they are richer. Definitely have like a thicker sound to them. I would call it almost rolled off a little bit in the top end, a little veiled maybe, personally. I mean, very easy to listen to, reasonable amounts of detail, but less detail even than the Elites, I would say. So like as far as like a $2,000 price tag, I don't feel like the Empyreans are super competitive in that regard. But again, they're super comfortable, they're easy to listen to. I don't feel like they do spatial information nearly as well as the Elites. The Elites just... They suck that mid-range, suck it out's probably a bad term, right? But they tame the mid-range thickness a little bit, and I feel that just lets the upper end shine a little bit more. Low end bass I felt was pretty comparable between the two, which is to say it's plentiful, it's textured, it's nice, it's lush, it's very good. But I just prefer the clarity through the mid-range and the upper end of the Elites. I just totally prefer it to what the original Empyrean did. So I mean, rather than like beating this one to death, for me, I mean, I know there's a big price difference between these, you know, so $2,000 for like the Empyreans, maybe even like 1,600-ish on the used market versus the Elites, you know, are $4,000 new. And maybe, you know, 2,500 on the used market. So it's not like it's super comparable, because if it was, it'd be easy and I'd just be like, yeah, Elite for sure. I guess where I'm at with it is like, again, the Elites were like one of my, as far as just like headphones I've just loved, the Elites are right up there with the best I've ever heard. And even though they're pricey, I do think they're worth their price tag. Like, I think they're that good. I don't know that I would say the same thing about the original Empyrean. It definitely, the build is there for sure. I mean, the sound is not bad by any means, but it just isn't top tier quality the way the Elite is. Like, I think honestly the Elite competes with Susvara and other things. Like, is it going to compete with detail retrieval and stuff? Maybe not, but just as far as like a super enjoyable listening experience that is just phenomenal, they compete in that regard, in my book, okay? Whereas I feel like the Empyreans, to me, just don't... I don't know. I just feel like they weren't quite there yet with the Empyreans, right? Like, obviously, they did a little more work. The Elite is very similar, but it just... I just feel like it reached its... You know, it reached what it could be, I guess, is what it comes down to. And so rather than like beat it to death, that's where I'm going to leave it with this one. I personally wouldn't look at the Empyrean myself. I would want the Elite. Like, the Elite is what I would go with. I think at the cost of the Empyrean, I think there's lots of other things on the market in that 1,500 or even below price range that are going to probably outperform it. So for me, I don't know. I'm an Elite person, I guess, is where I'm at with it. It just, the spatial information, the detail, the clarity, it all just stands out a little bit better to me on the Elites and makes it good enough. You know what I mean? Right? Like Susvara is doing some crazy fantastic things along with like LCD5 and stuff like that up there. But like the Elite elevates the Empyreans to like a good enough level that I feel like I'm happy with the sound. I don't want anything else from the sound. And just, again, these are just an all-day comfort, just get into music, enjoy yourself headphone. And for the person that's looking for that, I think they're phenomenal. Okay? The Elites, the Empyreans, if you own a set and you're wondering, I think you probably understand, like, you understand like what they can do, and you understand probably what the next iteration of that could be, as far as just like a little bit better detail, a little bit better clarity, a little bit better spatial information. It's not leaps and bounds, any of it, but it comes together to cohesively just make it just a much better headphone, in my opinion. That's it. All right. Thanks for watching. Thanks to Meze. Thanks to the friend of the channel that sent me the Empyreans. Really appreciate that. Thank you to you guys, as always. I appreciate you watching and being here. If you found this useful, like, subscribe, do all that stuff. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one.